Good afternoon. Let us begin our time together not with a statement, but with a question. A question that I believe lies at the very heart of the human experience. Have you ever found yourself standing at a crossroads in your life? Not necessarily a physical one, but a silent, internal one. You look down one path, and it is familiar. It is paved, well lit, and you can see the footprints of millions who have walked it before you. It is the path of the predictable, the comfortable, the safe. It is the path of convention, and then you look down the other path. This one is different. It is not so clearly marked. It seems to disappear into a fog of uncertainty. There are no crowds here. This path seems to demand something more from you, more courage, more thought, more effort. This is the path of possibility. In that quiet moment of contemplation, a fundamental choice is made, and the quality of your life from this day forward will be a direct reflection of the path you choose. Most people in that moment will choose the familiar path. They will choose the life of quiet compromise, a life dictated not by their deepest aspirations, but by their immediate comforts and their deepest fears. They will live out what Thoreau once called a life of quiet desperation, always carrying a subtle, nagging feeling that something essential was left unexplored, that a higher version of themselves was left undiscovered. They live what we will call tonight a life by default. A life by default is a life lived on autopilot. It is a reaction to events, not a creation of them. It's a life where the script has been handed to you by your culture, your upbringing, your environment. You go to school, you get a job, you pay your bills, you watch television, you grow old. There is nothing inherently wrong with these activities, but in the life by default, they are not conscious choices. They are simply what one does. It is a life where you are a passenger in your own vehicle, looking out the window as the scenery of your years rolls by. But a small few, a very small percentage of people throughout history have understood a profound secret. They have understood that you do not have to accept the script you are given. They have understood that you can become the author of your own story. These are the individuals who choose the second path. They choose to step into the fog, armed with intention as their compass. They choose to build what we will call a life by design. A life by design is the polar opposite of a life by default. It is a life of conscious, deliberate creation. It is a life where you are the architect and your daily actions are the bricks and mortar. It is a life where your values are clear and your choices are in alignment with those values. It is not necessarily a life of fame or fortune, though it can be. More fundamentally, it is a life of congruence, of purpose, of meaning. It is a life where you are firmly in the driver's seat, holding the map, choosing the destination. And so the great question we must confront tonight is this: what separates these two lives? What is the fundamental difference between the person who lives by default and the person who lives by design? Is it luck? Is it background? Is it genetics? Is it privilege? No. While all of these things can play a role, they are not the deciding factor. I have met people who started with every advantage and ended with nothing but regret. And I have met people who started with nothing and built lives of incredible substance and contribution. The difference, the single greatest determinant of your life's trajectory, is your personal philosophy. Your philosophy is the set of beliefs you hold, the principles you live by, and the way you process the world around you. It is the software that runs your mind. And just like software, it can be outdated, it can be full of bugs, or it can be upgraded. Tonight, we are not here to talk about quick fixes, motivational tricks, or fleeting hype. We are here to talk about architecture, the inner architecture of an exceptional life. We are here to begin the process of examining and upgrading your personal philosophy so that you can begin deliberately and systematically to build a life of your own design. This journey is not about becoming better than the person sitting next to you. It is about a far more noble and challenging pursuit, the pursuit of becoming the best possible version of yourself. If you are tired of being a passenger, if you are ready to stop living a life of accident and start living a life of intention, then give me your focused attention. Because the principles we are about to discuss are the very tools the architects of great lives have used for centuries, and they are available to you right now. Before we can build, however, we must clear the land. We must address the single greatest obstacle that keeps people stuck in a life by default. It is an idea so pervasive, so seductive, that it has crippled more dreams than any other force in history. It is the idea of circumstance. How often do we hear it? I can't get ahead because of the economy. I can't pursue my dream because my boss doesn't support me. I can't be happy because of my past. I can't succeed because of where I came from. We have become a culture of experts at blaming our circumstances. We treat circumstance as an immovable wall, a prison cell from which we cannot escape. But what if I told you that this entire idea is a grand illusion? What if I told you that your circumstances are not the cage, but merely the weather? Let me give you one of the most powerful analogies I have ever learned. Imagine two men in two identical sailboats setting out from the same harbor on the same day. As they leave the shore, a powerful wind begins to blow. It is the same wind blowing on both sails. The first man looks at the wind and curses it. This wind is against me, he says. It's too strong. It's blowing from the wrong direction. How can I possibly reach my destination with such an unfair wind? He fumbles with his sail, complains about his luck, and soon finds his boat being pushed back towards the rocky shore from which he started. He blames the wind for his failure. The second man sees the very same wind. He feels its power, but instead of complaining, he calmly and skillfully adjusts his sail. He angles it, tightens it, and uses the power of the very same wind that is pushing the first man back to propel his own boat forward towards his destination. Now, let me ask you, what was the difference? It was not the boat, it was not the destination, and it certainly was not the wind. The wind of circumstance blows on us all. The wind of economic change, the wind of technological disruption, the wind of personal challenge, the wind of disappointment, these winds are a part of the human condition. They blow on the rich and the poor, the educated and the uneducated, the young and the old. The difference was not the wind, the difference was the set of the sail. Your personal philosophy is the set of your sail. It is how you choose to respond to the inevitable winds of life. The person living by default allows the wind to push them wherever it pleases. They are a victim of the weather. The person living by design understands that while they cannot change the direction of the wind, they have absolute power to change the set of their sail. This is the very definition of personal responsibility. Not responsibility as a burden, but responsibility as a power. It is your ability to respond. You cannot control the traffic, but you can control your response to it. You cannot control your boss's mood, but you can control your professionalism in response to it. You cannot control the past, but you have absolute power over the meaning you assign to it and how you use its lessons to set your sail for the future. The moment you stop blaming circumstance and accept this profound power of response, your life changes. The prison door swings open. You are no longer a victim, you are a navigator. You are a sailor on the sea of life, and you have the power to chart your own course, regardless of the weather. So if circumstance is not the master of our fate, what is? What is the catalyst that allows us to change the set of our sail? It is the power of a single, solitary act, the act of decision. A true decision is one of an architect's most powerful tools. But we must be very clear about what a decision truly is, because our modern language has weakened this powerful word. We say, I've decided to lose weight, and then we eat a donut. We say, I've decided to be more positive, and then we complain for an hour. These are not decisions. These are preferences. They are weak wishes. The word decision comes from the Latin root cadere, which means to cut off. To decide is to cut off all other possibilities. A true decision is when you say, this is what I will do, and I am cutting off the option of not doing it. It is a commitment of the highest order. Why do so few people make true decisions? Because a real decision is terrifying. It forces you to draw a line in the sand. It removes all of your excuses. The moment you truly decide to become exceptional, you can no longer blame the wind. You can no longer tolerate your own mediocrity. You have held yourself to a higher standard, and there is no turning back. True decisions are often born from one of two emotions, disgust or inspiration. Sometimes a decision is born of absolute disgust. A person looks at their life, at their finances, at their health, at their relationships, and they finally say, with every fiber of their being, I have had it. Never again. This is the day they hit rock bottom, and that rock bottom becomes the solid foundation upon which they build a new life. They are pushed by the pain of the present to make a cut, a true decision. Other times, a decision is born of inspiration. A person reads a book, hears a speech, or meets someone who shows them a higher possibility for their life. A window opens in their mind, and they see a vision of who they could become. And they are pulled by the magnificent power of that future vision. They say, if that is possible, then I will have it. Whether you are pushed by the pain of your present or pulled by the promise of your future does not matter. What matters is that you arrive at the point of decision. The point where you say, the life by default ends today, my life by design begins now. But a decision, no matter how powerful, is not enough. A decision without a plan is merely the starting gun for a race you have not prepared for. It is the desire to build a skyscraper without a blueprint. The initial enthusiasm will fade, and the old habits, the old philosophies, the old winds of circumstance will push you right back to where you started. And that is why we are here tonight. Because once you have made that profound decision to live a life by design, the next logical question is, how? What is the blueprint? What is the architecture? What are the foundational principles upon which a life of exceptional achievement is built? That is the journey we are about to embark on. I am not here to give you my blueprint. I am here to give you the universal laws of construction, the timeless pillars that will allow you to design and build your own. We are going to erect together 5 foundational pillars. First, we will lay down the pillar of clarity. For you cannot build what you cannot see. You must have a well-defined destination. Next, we will erect the pillar of belief. For you cannot construct a reality that you do not first believe is possible in your own mind. Then, we will install the pillar of lifelong learning. For the architect must always be a student, constantly sharpening their skills and acquiring new knowledge. After that, we will build the great bridge of discipline. The only structure that can connect your grand vision to its physical reality through consistent daily action. And finally, we will fortify our entire structure with the pillar of resilience, learning to master our response to the inevitable storms of failure and criticism that test every great construction. Clarity, belief, learning, discipline, resilience, these are not new ideas. They are ancient laws. They are the unchanging principles that govern personal achievement. They are the tools of the architect, the compass of the navigator, the philosophy of the exceptional, the path of comfort, the life by default will always be there. It is easy to find. But I do not believe you are here tonight because you are interested in what is easy. I believe you are here because a voice inside of you is calling for something more. More meaning, more purpose, more life. The journey to an exceptional life begins with a single step. It begins with the decision to become the architect of your own destiny. If you are ready to draw the blueprint, if you are ready to lay the first stone, then let us begin. And so, we stand at the beginning. We have made the fundamental decision. We have chosen the path of the architect, the path of the navigator, the path of a life by design. We have turned our backs on the comfortable but compromised life of drifting and have decided to take the helm of our own ship. This is a momentous decision, but it is also a dangerous one if not followed immediately by the first and most critical act of construction. For a desire to build without a blueprint leads only to chaos. A desire to sail without a destination leads only to being lost at sea. This brings us to our first foundational pillar, the bedrock upon which every other success is built, the pillar of clarity. We begin with that deceptively simple question I posed earlier, what do you want? I want you to consider that question not as a casual inquiry, but as the most important piece of strategic work you will ever do in your life. Because in the answer to that question lies the entire trajectory of your future. Before we explore how to find the answer, We must first diagnose the disease that clarity cures. That disease is ambiguity. Ambiguity is a fog that settles over a life. It is a quiet, creeping paralysis of the soul. A life lived in ambiguity is not a life of overt failure, but a life of quiet, agonizing mediocrity. What are the symptoms of a life shrouded in the fog of ambiguity? The first symptom is a state of being constantly busy, but never productive. You know the feeling. Your calendar is full. Your to-do list is long. You are always running, always responding, always putting out fires. You fall into bed at the end of the day exhausted, but when you look back, you cannot point to a single significant thing you did that moved you closer to a life you truly desire. You are spinning your wheels, mistaking motion for progress. This is the tyranny of the urgent over the important. The second symptom is an epidemic of procrastination. When you don't know what your ultimate goal is, every task seems equally important and therefore equally unimportant. It becomes impossible to prioritize. So you put off the hard, meaningful work in favor of the easy, distracting tasks. You tell yourself, I'll start on my dream tomorrow. But tomorrow, in a life of ambiguity, never comes. The third symptom is an extreme vulnerability to distraction. When you have no clear destination, every shiny object on the side of the road becomes a potential new path. You are pulled in a dozen different directions by the opinions of others, by the latest trends on social media, by the endless stream of notifications on your phone. Your focus, your most precious resource, is fractured into 1,000 useless pieces. You become a reflection of your environment instead of a force that shapes it. And perhaps the most tragic symptom of all is the slow, silent accumulation of regret. A life without clarity is a life of passive acceptance. You accept the job you fell into. You accept the relationships that are merely convenient. You accept the health that is the result of neglect. And one day, you wake up at age 40, or 50, or 60, and you look in the mirror and ask a terrifying question, how did I get here? This isn't the life I imagined. This is the disease of ambiguity. It is the drifting ship we spoke of. A magnificent vessel with all the potential to cross oceans and discover new worlds, left to the mercy of the currents, the tides, and the storms. It is a tragedy because it is a self-imposed prison. So, how do we break free? How do we burn away the fog? We do it by undertaking the rigorous, deeply personal work of defining our destination. But true clarity is not a single point on a map. It is a rich, multidimensional picture of the life you intend to create. To truly achieve it, we must explore what I call the 4 dimensions of clarity. The first dimension, and the one we most often think about, is clarity of contribution. This is the what. What is the work you want to do? What is the value you want to create in the world? This dimension moves us beyond simple selfish desires like I want a big house or I want a fast car. Those things are fine as byproducts, but they are not a worthy destination. A worthy destination is rooted in service, in solving a problem, in leaving a place better than you found it. Ask yourself, what problems in the world stir my soul? What skills do I possess or could I develop that would be of immense value to others? Do I want to be the entrepreneur who creates jobs and innovates an industry? Do I want to be the teacher who ignites the love of learning in a new generation? Do I want to be the artist whose work provides beauty and perspective? Do I want to be the parent who raises children of exceptional character? Your contribution is your economic and social footprint. It is the tangible result of your efforts. When you are clear on your contribution, your work ceases to be a job and becomes a calling. You are no longer just earning a paycheck. You are on a mission. And a person on a mission is one of the most powerful forces on earth. The second dimension is clarity of character. This is the who. In the process of making your contribution, who do you want to become? An exceptional life is not just about what you achieve. It is about the person you evolve into along the way. You could achieve great financial success, but if you do so by sacrificing your integrity, you have not won, you have lost. So ask yourself, what virtues do I want to embody? When people speak of me, what words do I want them to use? Do I want to be known for my courage in the face of fear? my integrity when it would be easier to compromise, my compassion for those who are struggling, my discipline when others are giving up. This dimension of clarity is about your internal compass. It is your personal code of conduct. When you are clear on your desired character, it provides a powerful filter for your behavior. In a moment of decision, you can ask, what would the person I want to become do in this situation? This question will guide you towards the higher road time and time again. Clarity of character is the foundation of self-respect, and without self-respect, external achievements are hollow. The third dimension is clarity of experience. This is the how. How do you want to live your life day to day? What are the feelings, the states of being that you want to cultivate? It is a dangerous trap to believe that you will be happy when you reach your destination. This is called destination addiction, and it is a recipe for a life of perpetual striving and dissatisfaction. The journey is the destination. The quality of your life is determined by the quality of your days. So you must be clear on the experiences you want to have. Ask yourself, what does my ideal day look like? What feelings do I want to be my dominant companions? Do I want to feel a sense of vitality and energy in my body? Do I want to experience deep love and connection in my relationships? Do I want to feel a sense of peace and presence in my mind? Do I want to feel the thrill of growth and challenge? When you have clarity of experience, you begin to make choices that honor these desired feelings today. You don't wait until you retire to take care of your health. You don't wait until the kids are grown to connect with your partner. You infuse your present moments with the quality of your ultimate vision. You design a life that is enjoyable to live, not just one that looks good on paper. And finally, we arrive at the fourth and most profound dimension, clarity of legacy. This is the why. When your time is done, when the final chapter is written, what do you want the story of your life to have been about? What is the ultimate purpose that animates all your contributions, your character, and your experience? This is the question that provides the deepest and most resilient source of motivation. Your why is what will get you through the inevitable winters of life. When your business fails, when your critics are loud, when your discipline wanes, it is the clarity of your legacy that will pull you back to your feet. Ask yourself, why is all this effort worthwhile? What is the overarching theme of my life's story? Is it to be a story of adventure, a story of service, a story of love, a story of innovation? What impact do I want to have left on my family, my community, and the world? When you know your why, the how becomes infinitely easier. Clarity of legacy is the ultimate fuel. It is the North Star that keeps you on course when all other lights go out. Contribution, character, experience, and legacy. These are the four dimensions of a truly clear vision. Now you might be thinking, this is overwhelming. How do I possibly find the answers to such enormous questions? You do it through a process, a simple but not easy process I call the mechanics of crystallization. It begins with an act that is almost revolutionary in our noisy, distracted world, the act of writing. You must take these questions out of the chaotic, swirling world of your mind and give them physical form on paper. Get a journal, a simple notebook that will become the most valuable book you own. Find a time and a place where you can be alone and undisturbed and begin a dialogue with yourself. Write the question at the top of the page, what is the contribution I want to make? And then write. Don't edit, don't judge, just let the thoughts flow. Write what you think you want, what you fear you want, what you secretly want. Fill pages. Do this for each of the four dimensions. This is not a one-time event. This is a practice. The act of writing forces clarity. It takes a vague feeling and gives it a specific language. An idea that seems brilliant in your head can often look foolish when written down, and a small, timid idea can reveal its profound power when you see it in black and white. You are turning the intangible into the tangible. You are beginning the act of creation. The second part of the process is refinement. Your first draft of your life's vision will not be perfect. Clarity does not arrive like a lightning bolt. It arrives like a sculptor revealing a masterpiece. The sculptor does not add to the marble. They chip away everything that is not the statue. Your life is the same. Through your initial writing, you will create a rough block of marble. Then, through experience, reflection, and more writing, you begin to chip away. You try something and realize, no, that's not the contribution I want to make. You act in a certain way and realize that is not in line with the character I want to build. You chip away the no's to reveal a more and more refined yes. Your clarity is not something you find, it is something you sculpt day by day, choice by choice. And the final part of this process is stillness. Clarity is not born in the noise of a busy life. It is born in the quiet spaces in between. You cannot hear the subtle whispers of your own heart if you are constantly bombarded by the shouting of the world. You must intentionally schedule time for solitude and deep thought. Turn off your phone. Go for a walk in nature. Sit in a quiet room and do nothing. At first, it will feel uncomfortable. Your mind, addicted to stimulation, will race. But if you persist, the noise will eventually settle, and in that stillness, insight will arise. The answers you have been desperately searching for in the outside world will emerge from within. Once you have done this work, once you have wrestled with the 4 dimensions and begun the process of crystallization, you arrive at the final courageous step. You must declare your clarity. This doesn't mean you need to announce your grand plans to the world. It means you must declare them to yourself with unwavering commitment. It means you must begin to structure your life around this newfound clarity. It becomes the ultimate filter for your decisions. You will start saying no more often. You will say no to the opportunities that, while good, do not align with your specific contribution. You will say no to the relationships that compromise your character. You will say no to the distractions that rob you of the experiences you desire. Saying no is a powerful act. It is the guardian at the gate of your focused life, and every time you say no to the trivial, you are saying a powerful yes to the essential. This, my friends, is the pillar of clarity. It is not a soft, passive state of wishing. It is an active, rigorous, and ongoing process of strategic life design. It is the work of an architect, a navigator, a sculptor. It is the foundation that gives meaning to the belief we will need to cultivate, the purpose for the lifelong learning we must undertake, the fuel for the discipline we must practice, and the reason to rise again from the failures we will inevitably face. Without clarity, your life is a game of chance. With clarity, it becomes a game of skill. So I leave you with the work, the noble, challenging, and life-altering work of answering in all its 4 magnificent dimensions that simple, profound question. What do you want? Begin the work tonight. Pick up a pen, open a notebook, and start building your blueprint. Start charting your course. Start sculpting your masterpiece. It is the most important work you will ever do. In our last discussion, we undertook the rigorous and essential work of the architect. We began to draw the blueprint for a life by design. We answered the call of clarity, defining our contribution, our character, our experiences, and our ultimate legacy. We have taken a vague wish for a better life and given it form, structure, and a destination. We now possess a beautiful blueprint, a magnificent design for a life of purpose. But let me ask you a critical question. What is the value of the world's most brilliant blueprint if the architect does not believe the structure can actually be built? It is nothing more than a fantasy on paper, a beautiful but ultimately powerless dream. This brings us to our second great pillar. If clarity is the blueprint, then belief is the foundation upon which that blueprint will be built. It is the invisible structure of conviction that gives your clear vision the power to withstand the inevitable storms of reality. It is the profound, unshakable, internal certainty that says, this can be done and I am capable of doing it. We must begin by making a crucial distinction. Belief is not hope. Hope is a wonderful emotion, but it is a poor construction material. Hope is passive. Hope waits for the weather to be good, for the economy to improve, for someone else to give it permission. Hope says, I wish things would work out. Belief, on the other hand, is active. Belief is a force. Belief does not wait for the external conditions to be perfect. It focuses on creating perfect internal conditions. Belief does not wish. Belief decides. It says, I will make this work. The difference is subtle, but it is everything. So, if belief is this essential, Why do so many of us struggle with it? Why is it that we can have a clear, inspiring goal, yet a nagging voice inside whispers, "It's not possible for you"? To become the architects of our minds, we must first understand the origins of disbelief. We must diagnose the sources of the doubt that undermines our foundation. There are three primary sources of doubt that plague the human mind. The first source is our own personal history of failure. We are all shaped by our past. We remember the time we tried something and fell short. We remember the business that didn't succeed, the resolution that faded after a week, the promise we made to ourselves that we didn't keep. Our past can become a heavy chain, a collection of evidence that we use against ourselves. We project the failures of our past onto the canvas of our future and conclude that the pattern is unbreakable. The second source is our external programming. From the moment we are born, we are being programmed. We are programmed by well-meaning parents who, in their desire to protect us, might have said, "Don't aim too high, you might get disappointed." We are programmed by a school system that often rewards conformity over creativity. We are programmed by a culture that bombards us with images of overnight success, making our own slow, arduous journey feel like a sign of inadequacy. These external voices become our internal script, and we often live out their limiting beliefs without ever questioning them. The third source is the great modern disease of the comparison trap. We scroll through the highlight reels of other people's lives, and we compare their curated endings to our messy middles. We see the final product of their success, but we do not see the decade of silent, relentless effort that went into it. We measure our first chapter against their 20th, and we conclude that we are hopelessly behind. Comparison is the thief of joy, but more than that, it is the assassin of belief. Past failures, external programming, and the comparison trap. These three forces conspire to create a default setting of disbelief in the human mind. They build a prison of perceived limitations. But here is the great truth. A prison is only a prison if you do not know you hold the key. You have the power to become the master of your internal world. You have the ability to become the architect of your own mind. It is not easy work, but it is the most rewarding work you will ever do. It is the work of consciously and systematically building an inner citadel, a fortress of belief so strong that it becomes impervious to the attacks of doubt, both internal and external. How do we build this citadel? We build it with three powerful tools: the gatekeeper of the mind, the inner dialogue, and the theater of the mind. First, you must install the gatekeeper of the mind. Your mind is the most fertile ground in the universe. Whatever you plant in it, fear or faith, doubt or confidence, will grow. For years, most of us have allowed weeds to be planted in our garden by accident. We have left the gate wide open. To build belief, you must become a vigilant gatekeeper. You must consciously manage your informational diet with the same rigor an Olympic athlete manages their physical diet. You would not fuel your body with poison and expect peak performance. Why would you fuel your mind with a steady diet of negativity, cynicism, gossip, and fear, and expect to cultivate a powerful belief in yourself? This requires a conscious audit of your inputs. What news do you consume? What social media accounts do you follow? What conversations do you participate in? Do these things build you up or tear you down? Do they expand your sense of possibility or reinforce your limitations? Jot this down. You cannot live a positive life with a negative mind, and you cannot have a positive mind with a negative diet. This extends to the people you spend the most time with. You are the average of the 5 people you associate with most closely. If you are surrounded by cynical, complaining, unambitious people, their doubt will become contagious. You must seek out those who believe in growth, who speak the language of possibility, who hold themselves to a higher standard. Your associations can be an anchor that holds you down or a current that lifts you up. Choose wisely. The second tool is the mastery of your inner dialogue. We all have a voice in our head that narrates our lives. For many, that voice is a relentless critic. It is the voice that says, "You're not smart enough, you're not talented enough, you're an imposter." You cannot eliminate this voice, but you do not have to make it the narrator of your story. Your work is to cultivate a second voice, the voice of the internal coach, the voice of encouragement, the voice of reason. This is the purpose of affirmations. but we must understand them correctly. An affirmation is not a magic chant that will make you a millionaire overnight. An affirmation is the act of consciously scripting and rehearsing a more empowering inner conversation. It is a tool for rewriting your default programming. The most effective affirmations are not lies. If you are struggling financially, saying, "I am a millionaire," can create internal conflict. A more powerful and believable statement is, "I am in the process of becoming a disciplined and resourceful person capable of building immense wealth." You are affirming the process, the character, the becoming. You must speak to yourself with the same encouragement you would offer your best friend. When you stumble, the critic will scream, "See, I told you you couldn't do it." The coach will calmly say, "This is part of the process." What did we learn? Let's go again. Your inner dialogue is a choice. Choose the voice that builds your citadel, not the one that tears it down. The third tool is the theater of the mind. This is the profound practice of visualization. The greatest achievers in every field are masters of this. They understand that the mind cannot distinguish between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. Visualization is not mere daydreaming. It is a mental rehearsal for success. An Olympic skier does not just ski down the mountain. They ski down the mountain in their mind 1,000 times before the race. They feel the texture of the snow. They see every gate. They experience the feeling of crossing the finish line in first place. You must do the same for your goals. Several times a day, close your eyes and step into the theater of your mind. See yourself having already achieved your clearly defined goal. If your goal is to be a powerful public speaker, see yourself on stage, speaking with confidence and passion. Feel the applause. See the inspired faces in the audience. If your goal is to build a successful business, see yourself leading your team, serving your happy customers, looking at the healthy financial reports. By doing this, you are building the neural pathways for success. You are making the unfamiliar familiar. You are desensitizing your nervous system to the fear of the unknown. You are turning your future vision into a present emotional reality. And this emotional reality is the magnetic force that will pull you toward your goal. These three tools, the gatekeeper, the inner dialogue, and the mental theater, are how you fortify your mind from within. But even the strongest citadel can feel like a fraud if it is not supported by real-world evidence. This leads us to the most powerful belief builder of all, the evidence engine of action. Belief ultimately is not built on thoughts alone, it is built on proof. But you do not need to wait for someone else to give you proof. You must create your own. You must become a scientist of your own success, systematically gathering evidence of your own capability. How? It begins with one of the most profound principles for a successful life, the power of kept promises to yourself. Your relationship with yourself is the most important relationship you will ever have, and the foundation of that relationship is trust. Do you trust yourself? Do you trust that when you say you will do something, it gets done? Belief is not built by making one grand, heroic promise. It is built by keeping 1,000 small ones. If you tell yourself you will wake up at 6 a.m. and you do, you have just deposited a small piece of evidence into your belief account. You have proven to yourself that you are the kind of person who does what they say. If you promise to read for 15 minutes and you do, you deposit another piece. If you promise to make that one difficult phone call and you do, you deposit another. Each kept promise, no matter how small, sends a powerful message to your subconscious mind. I am in control. I am trustworthy. I am disciplined. Conversely, every broken promise is a withdrawal. It erodes your self-respect and validates the voice of the critic. Do you want to build unshakable belief? Start by making and keeping tiny promises to yourself. Design small, achievable wins. Don't try to conquer the world on day one. Just lay one perfect brick, then tomorrow lay another. This momentum, this stacking of wins, is the engine that manufactures irrefutable proof of your own competence. This proof is the raw material of authentic, unshakable belief. And this engine must also learn to process a different kind of data, the data of failure. A core component of belief is not believing that you will never fail. That is delusion. True belief is the profound conviction that you can handle failure. It is believing in your own resilience. It is knowing that you can fall, get the lesson, and rise again stronger than before. When you see failure not as a verdict but as data, as valuable evidence of what doesn't work, it ceases to be a belief killer and becomes a belief builder. It becomes just another part of the evidence gathering process on the road to mastery. Finally, we must address the deepest layer of the foundation, the very ground upon which the entire citadel is built. It is the quiet, often unexamined belief in your own worthiness. You can have a clear goal, you can guard your mind, you can take consistent action. But if deep down in the core of your being, you do not feel that you are worthy of the success you seek, you will find a way to sabotage yourself. You will get close to the finish line and unconsciously pull back. This feeling of unworthiness is one of the most subtle and destructive forces in a human life. It is the lingering echo of past mistakes, of old criticisms, of a feeling that you are somehow not enough. Cultivating worthiness is not about developing arrogance. Arrogance is a mask for insecurity. True worthiness is a quiet acceptance of your right to pursue your highest potential. It is about forgiving yourself for not being perfect. It is about understanding that your past is a place of reference, not a place of residence. Your worth is not tied to your net worth or your list of accomplishments. Your worth is inherent. Your pursuit of an exceptional life is not to earn worthiness, but to express it. You build a life of character and contribution not to prove you are worthy, but because you already are. This is the work, to become the architect of your mind, to build an inner citadel fortified by a vigilant gatekeeper, a coaching inner dialogue, and a vivid mental theater, to power it with the undeniable evidence of kept promises and stacked wins, and to build it all on the solid ground of your own inherent worthiness. This is the pillar of belief. It is the silent, invisible force that turns a two-dimensional blueprint into a three-dimensional reality. It is the engine that will power you through the hard work of learning, the long days of discipline, and the dark nights of failure. It is the conviction that not only can the masterpiece be built, but that you are the one to build it. We're about halfway through our pillars, and I want to pause for a moment. These ideas of clarity and belief are not just abstract concepts. They are active tools. My question for you is, which of these two pillars speaks most to where you are right now? Are you in a season of needing more clarity, of defining your destination, or are you in a season of needing to build your belief, of guarding your mind against doubt? Take a moment to share your thoughts in the comments below. There is power in declaring your focus. I read every comment, and I'd be honored to read about your journey. And if this philosophy is resonating with you, if you believe in the power of a life by design, then take a moment to subscribe to the channel. We are building a community here dedicated to these timeless principles. Now, let's move on to the pillar that turns vision into reality. In our last session, we accomplished the profound inner work of becoming the architects of our own minds. We laid the invisible, yet all-powerful foundation of belief. We built an inner citadel, a fortress of conviction designed to nurture our aspirations and protect them from the corrosive forces of doubt. We now possess a clear blueprint for an exceptional life, and we have built the unshakable belief that this structure can, in fact, be built. This is a monumental achievement, but it brings us to a crucial turning point. Belief without competence is a dangerous delusion. It is the energy of a powerful engine with no wheels, spinning furiously but going nowhere. A blueprint, no matter how clear, and a foundation, no matter how strong, are useless without the raw materials and the skill to assemble. This brings us to our third pillar, the pillar that transforms intention into ability. It is the engine of personal evolution. It is the pillar of lifelong learning. There is a powerful phrase, often attributed to Mark Twain, that serves as the perfect entry point to this vast subject. It is this: don't let your schooling interfere with your education. I want you to consider the depth of that statement. It suggests a profound and critical difference between two words we often use interchangeably, schooling and education. Understanding this difference is the beginning of wisdom. Schooling is a formal process. It is something that is largely done to you. It has a start date and an end date. It has a defined curriculum, standardized tests. and it culminates in a piece of paper, a diploma, or a degree. The primary purpose of schooling is to provide you with a baseline of knowledge to ensure you can function within the existing systems of society. It is designed to teach you what to think, and for that, it is valuable. Formal schooling, as the old saying goes, can make you a living. But education is something else entirely. Education is a personal pursuit. It is something you must do for yourself. It has a start date the day you decide to take control of your own growth, but it has no end date. Its curriculum is designed by you based on your unique goals and curiosities. Its tests are the real-world challenges you face every day. And its graduation is not a single event, but a continuous process of becoming a more capable, more valuable, and more effective human being. The purpose of education is to teach you how to think. And a true education, my friends, can make you a fortune in every sense of the word, financially, intellectually, relationally, and spiritually. Here we arrive at what I call the great divergence. For the majority of people, the day they finish their formal schooling is the day they effectively end their intentional learning. They read fewer books. They stop studying. They fall into a routine, relying on the knowledge they acquired years ago. They have fallen for the great cultural myth that learning is a phase of life you pass through when you are young. The exceptional individual, the architect of a life by design, understands a different truth. They know that the day their schooling ends is the day their true education must begin in earnest. This is the point where the paths diverge. One path leads to stagnation and irrelevance. The other leads to continuous growth and expanding possibility. If you are committed to the path of the exceptional, you must commit to becoming a lifelong student. You must transform your entire life into a university, and you are both the student and the dean. But in this university, what is on the curriculum? If you are to design your own education, what subjects must you master? Allow me to propose the 4 core subjects in the curriculum of a designed life. The first and most obvious is the study of mastery. This is the deep, relentless, and ongoing study of your chosen craft or profession. This is directly linked to your clarity of contribution. It is not enough to simply do your job. The average person does their job. The exceptional person studies it. This means you go beyond the daily tasks. You study the history of your field. Who were the pioneers? What were their breakthroughs? You study the fundamental principles that govern your craft. You study the latest innovations, the new technologies, the cutting-edge ideas. You identify the current masters in your field, and you deconstruct their work. You read their books, you take their courses, you learn from their successes and their failures. The person who commits to the study of mastery is no longer just a marketer, a programmer, a manager, or a craftsperson. They are on the path to becoming an artist. They operate on a different level. They see patterns others miss. They create value others cannot. And the marketplace rewards them accordingly. Your formal schooling got you the job. Your self-education in your craft will make you a legend in your field. The second subject is the study of humanity. You can have all the technical skill in the world, but if you do not understand people, your success will be severely limited. Life is a team sport. Your ability to connect, communicate, persuade, and inspire is paramount. This is the study of psychology, of communication, of leadership, of negotiation, of empathy. It is learning what truly motivates people. It is learning how to present your ideas in a way that resonates. It is learning how to build deep, trusting relationships. It is learning how to resolve conflict and create collaboration. Every single day, you are interacting with other human beings. Every interaction is an opportunity to practice these skills. Do not leave this to chance. Study the great books on human nature. Learn the art of asking powerful questions. Practice the skill of listening, not just to reply, but to truly understand. Your technical skills determine what you can do. Your people skills determine how far your work will reach. The third subject is the study of systems. You live and operate within complex systems. And the most pervasive of these is the system of economics. You must commit to becoming financially literate. This is not a study of greed. This is a study of reality. It is the study of how value is created, exchanged, and multiplied. You must learn the language of money, budgeting, saving, investing, assets versus liabilities, and the awesome power of compound growth. To not understand these principles is to be a pawn in a game you don't even know you're playing. Study the marketplace. What problems are people willing to pay to have solved? How can you position your skills and contributions to solve those problems more effectively? Financial literacy is not about hoarding money. It is about understanding the flow of value so that you can create a life of financial independence and generosity. It gives you options. It gives you freedom. And freedom is one of the highest prizes of a life by design. The fourth and most important subject in your curriculum is the study of self. This is the great inward journey. For what good is it to master your craft, understand humanity, and navigate the systems of the world if you do not understand the operator of it all yourself? This is the study of philosophy, of character, of your own mind. It is asking the big questions. Who am I? What are my core values? What are my greatest strengths and my most crippling weaknesses? How do I build the character I defined in our work on clarity? This is the study that builds self-awareness, the very foundation of emotional intelligence. And under this great subject falls the study of your own physical health. Your body is the vessel that will carry you through this entire journey. It is the hardware that runs your mind's software. To neglect your health, your nutrition, your sleep, your physical fitness is an act of profound self-sabotage. It is like planning a grand voyage across the ocean in a leaky boat. All the ambition and knowledge in the world are useless if you do not have the physical vitality to apply them. The study of self is the commitment to optimizing your own physical and mental instrument. Mastery, humanity, systems, and self. This is the curriculum. So the next question is, how do you enroll in this university? What are the methods of a lifelong learner? The first and most fundamental method is to become a voracious reader. A book is a miracle. It is the ability to have a conversation with the greatest minds in history for the price of a cup of coffee. Your library is your private cabinet of mentors. You must move from being a casual, passive reader to an active, engaged student. Read with a pen in your hand. Underline, highlight, write questions in the margins, argue with the author. When you finish a book, don't just put it on the shelf. Write a one-page summary of its key ideas and, most importantly, the one or two actions you will take based on what you have learned. Jot this down. The man who doesn't read good books has no advantage over the man who can't read them. Build your library, for in doing so, you are building yourself. The second method is to create your own audio university. We live in a golden age of learning. With podcasts and audiobooks, you can transform the dead time of your life into a classroom. Your commute, your workout, your time doing chores, these are no longer wasted hours. They are opportunities to learn from the world's leading experts on any subject imaginable. A person with a smartphone and a pair of headphones has access to more knowledge than the kings of old could have ever dreamed. Do not squander this gift. Curate your playlists. Subscribe to a university of voices and turn your car into a mobile classroom. The third method is to actively seek mentorship. You can learn from your own mistakes, and you will, but a wiser path is to learn from the mistakes of others. A mentor is someone who is further down the path you wish to walk. They can see the traps you cannot. They can offer insights that can save you years of wasted effort. Mentorship can be direct, finding someone willing to guide you, but it can also be indirect. You can be mentored by Benjamin Franklin by studying his autobiography. You can be mentored by the great Stoic philosophers by reading their letters. Study the lives of the people you admire. Deconstruct their journeys. Their lives are a road map. Finally, you must embrace the ultimate learning accelerator, the learning loop of application. Knowledge that remains in your head is academic. It is potential energy. It only becomes wisdom when it is applied. I want you to adopt a simple but powerful model. Learn, do, teach. First, you learn the concept. You read it in a book, hear it in a podcast. Next, you do it. You take the idea and immediately apply it in your life. You test it. You experiment with it. You turn theory into practice. Finally, and this is the most powerful step, you teach it. Find someone and explain the idea to them. In order to teach something, you must understand it at a much deeper level. The act of articulating an idea to another person crystallizes it in your own mind. This loop, learn, do, teach, is how you move from shallow knowing to deep understanding. This is the path of the lifelong learner, but it requires more than just a curriculum and methods. It requires a certain mindset. It requires, first and foremost, humility. The enemy of learning is the arrogance of thinking you already know. The wisest people I have ever met are the quickest to say, I don't know. They are filled with a sense of curiosity, not a sense of certainty. You must be willing to be a beginner again and again. It also requires a willingness to embrace discomfort. Real learning is not a comfortable process. It involves grappling with complex ideas, challenging your long-held beliefs, and admitting when you are wrong. If your learning process is always easy, you are likely not learning. You are merely reviewing what you already know. Growth happens at the boundary of your current competence. This is the pillar of learning. It is the commitment to a life of continuous, conscious, self-directed education. It is not a burden. It is an adventure. It is the process of becoming more so that you can create more, contribute more, and experience more. It is the engine that takes your clear vision and your powerful belief and forges the real-world competence to make it a reality. You are building the skills to match your ambition. And now, armed with this growing competence, you are ready to face the pillar that will put it all into motion day after day. You are ready for the pillar of discipline. We have traveled a significant distance on this journey of architecture. We began by drafting the magnificent blueprint of clarity, seeing with profound detail the life we intend to create. We then laid the deep, invisible foundation of belief, building an inner citadel of conviction that our vision is, in fact, possible. And most recently, we gathered the finest materials available through our commitment to lifelong learning, acquiring the knowledge and skills necessary for the great work ahead. We now stand at a critical juncture. We possess a brilliant blueprint, a solid foundation, and a stockpile of the best materials. But the most beautiful architectural plans, the strongest foundations, and the highest quality materials are utterly worthless if they are left sitting idle in a field. Nothing happens until the work begins. This brings us to the great engine of all human achievement. It is the pillar that separates the dreamer from the doer. It is the force that converts potential energy into kinetic reality. It is the most misunderstood, the most resisted, and yet the most essential virtue of a life by design. We have arrived at the pillar of discipline. I used a metaphor in our initial script that I want to return to now, for it is the most accurate definition of discipline I have ever encountered. Discipline is the bridge that connects the island of your vision to the mainland of your accomplishment. It is the only bridge. There are no ferries. There are no secret tunnels. There is no magical teleportation. If you wish to walk from your dream to your reality, you must build this bridge, and you must walk across it, plank by plank, day by day. Before we discuss how to build this bridge, we must first perform a crucial act of demolition. We must demolish the false and poisonous idea of discipline that our culture has constructed. For most people, the word discipline evokes feelings of punishment, restriction, sacrifice, and a joyless, rigid existence. We see it as a cage that limits our freedom. This, my friends, is a fundamental and tragic misunderstanding. Discipline is not the cage. Discipline is the key that unlocks the cage. The undisciplined person who believes they are free is in fact a slave. They are a slave to their moods, a slave to their appetites, a slave to their weakest impulses. They are a slave to the snooze button, a slave to the television, a slave to the opinions of the crowd. They have the freedom of a drifting ship free to be smashed upon the rocks. True freedom is not the absence of structure, it is the result of structure. The musician who disciplines themselves to practice the scales for thousands of hours is the one who earns the freedom to create beautiful music. The entrepreneur who disciplines themselves to manage their finances is the one who earns the freedom from debt and the freedom to invest in their vision. The person who disciplines their health habits is the one who earns the freedom of energy, vitality, and a longer life. Discipline is not about restriction. It is about liberation. It is the ultimate expression of self-respect. It is the choice to trade what you want now for what you want most. And this choice brings us to a profound truth. Jot this down, for it is one of the most important principles for a well-lived life. We must all suffer one of two pains, the pain of discipline or the pain of regret. The difference is that discipline weighs ounces, while regret weighs tons. You do not get to choose a life without pain. You only get to choose your pain. Let us examine these two pains. The pain of discipline is a front-loaded pain. It is the discomfort you feel today. It is the effort of waking up an hour earlier to work on your craft. It is the burn in your muscles during a workout. It is the focus required to read a challenging book. It is the sting of saying no to a distraction. This pain is sharp, it is real, and it is temporary. But it is also a creative pain. It is the pain of construction, of growth, and its harvest is pride, strength, skill, and accomplishment. Then there is the pain of regret. This pain is back-loaded. It is born from the easy choices made today. It is the comfort of the snooze button, the pleasure of the junk food, the mindless escape of the television. There is no pain in these choices in the moment. But these easy choices compound day after day into a future filled with a heavy, chronic, and incurable ache. It is the ache of what if I had started then? What if I had tried harder? What if I had not given up? The pain of regret is the realization that you have squandered the most precious and non-renewable resource you own, your time, and the potential it contained. Discipline weighs ounces. Regret weighs tons. A wise person understands this equation and willingly chooses the ounce of discomfort today to avoid the tonnage of sorrow tomorrow. So how do we practice this? How do we build this bridge of discipline? It is not built through grand, heroic, unsustainable bursts of effort. It is built through the quiet, consistent application of the law of compounding action. The power is not in the intensity of the act, but in the consistency of its application. It is the principle of the flywheel. A massive, heavy wheel that is incredibly difficult to move at first. Your first push barely nudges it. It feels useless. The second push is the same. But you keep pushing consistently, day after day. And slowly, imperceptibly at first, the wheel begins to turn. And then it turns a little faster. And soon, its own momentum begins to work for you. After months or years of consistent pushing, that same flywheel is now spinning with an unstoppable, self-sustaining force. Your life works the same way. The decision to make one more sales call is insignificant. The decision to read 10 pages of a book is insignificant. The decision to save a small amount of money is insignificant. But the decision to do these things every single day, that is the stuff of miracles. You must fall in love with the process, with the boring, repetitive, daily act of pushing the flywheel, because the consistency of the mundane is what creates the magnificent. A practical way to begin is to master your mornings. I will tell you this, how you start your day is often how you live your life. The first hour is the rudder of the day. If you begin your day in a reactive, chaotic, and undisciplined manner, hitting the snooze button, immediately grabbing your phone to check emails and social media, you have already lost. You have handed the control of your day over to the world's agenda. The architect of a life by design wins the first battle. They create a morning ritual. It does not have to be long or complex, but it must be intentional. It might include hydrating your body, moving your body, spending a few minutes in quiet reflection or meditation, reviewing your clear goals, and planning your top priorities for the day. By starting your day with a series of small, kept promises to yourself, you set a powerful tone of intention, self-respect, and control. You are no longer a victim of the day. You are its commander. Furthermore, the truly disciplined person understands a vital secret. They do not rely solely on willpower. Willpower is like a muscle. It can be strengthened, but it also fatigues. To rely on willpower alone to get you through every temptation is a losing strategy. The professional does not just have more willpower, they have a better system. They design an environment where discipline is the path of least resistance. They are the architects of their choices. If you want to stop eating junk food, do not bring it into your house. The battle is won at the grocery store, not at 10 p.m. in your kitchen. If you want to read more, put a book on your pillow and leave your phone in another room. If you need to do focused work, go to a library or a quiet space and turn off all notifications. Do not try to be a hero fighting temptation every minute of the day. Be a strategist. Make it easy to do the right thing and hard to do the wrong thing. Your environment will either support your discipline or sabotage it. Make sure you are the one who designs it. Now, we must elevate this conversation, for discipline is not just about what you do. In its higher forms, it is about how you think and how you feel. First, there is the discipline of thought. This is the art of standing guard at the gate of your mind. Your mind will produce thousands of thoughts each day, many of them negative, fearful, or distracting by default. An undisciplined mind will latch onto these thoughts, dwelling on past resentments, worrying about future anxieties, and entertaining useless distractions. A disciplined mind practices the art of conscious focus. It acknowledges a negative thought and then gently but firmly lets it go. It chooses to direct its attention again and again back to its primary purpose, back to the solution, back to the next productive action. This is mental toughness. It is the ability to control the spotlight of your attention. And since your external world is largely a reflection of your internal focus, this is perhaps the most important discipline of all. Second, there is the discipline of emotion. This does not mean becoming a robot devoid of feeling. It means becoming the master of your emotions, not their slave. It is the ability to create a space between an emotional stimulus and your response. The undisciplined person is a reactor. They get an insulting email and they fire back in anger. They feel fear and they retreat. They feel frustration and they quit. Their emotions are in the driver's seat. The disciplined person feels the same anger, the same fear, the same frustration. But they have cultivated a space. In that space, they take a breath. And in that space, they make a conscious choice. They ask, what response is in alignment with my values? What response will move me closer to my goals? The discipline of emotion is the mark of maturity. It is the ability to act based on your commitments, not your moods. And this brings us to the true mark of the professional in any field, the discipline of consistency. Motivation is a wonderful but fickle friend. It is for amateurs. The professional does not wait for motivation to strike. The professional relies on discipline. The professional writer writes even when they don't feel inspired. The professional athlete trains even when they are sore. The professional shows up and does the work, day in and day out, regardless of how they feel. They understand that the muse rewards the one who is already at their desk. This unwavering consistency is what builds mastery. It is what builds trust. It is what separates the great from the good. And what is the ultimate harvest of this difficult daily work? What are the fruits of a disciplined life? The first is true freedom. The discipline of your finances creates the freedom to choose your work. The discipline of your health creates the freedom of movement and vitality. The discipline of your learning creates the freedom from ignorance and the freedom to adapt to a changing world. But the greatest prize of all is a deep and abiding self-respect. Every single time you choose the ounce of discipline over the ton of regret, you are keeping a promise to the most important person in your life, yourself. You are casting a vote for your higher self. You are building character. And this internal feeling of pride, this quiet knowledge that you can rely on yourself to do the hard but necessary thing, is a reward that no amount of money can buy and no amount of external praise can replicate. It is the unshakable core of a life well lived. This is the pillar of discipline. It is not your enemy. It is your greatest ally. It is the steady, daily, conscious labor of the architect. It is the bridge that will carry your magnificent vision, your powerful belief, and your hard-won knowledge across the great chasm of inaction and deliver you safely to the shore of your accomplishment. It is the engine that drives you forward, especially on the days when you feel you cannot go on. And you will need that engine. For the journey of the architect is not without its storms, its setbacks, and its tests. You are now ready for the final pillar, the art of handling failure. We have journeyed far. We have meticulously designed our blueprint with the piercing light of clarity. We have laid an unshakable foundation with the profound power of belief. We have gathered the finest materials in the world through our commitment to lifelong learning, and we have engaged in the noble daily labor of construction with the steady hand of discipline. We have, in essence, designed and begun to build a magnificent skyscraper, a testament to a life by design. The blueprint is perfect, the foundation is solid, the materials are excellent, and the work ethic is strong. But let me ask you a final sobering question. What happens on the day the storm comes? What happens when the hurricane-force winds of economic turmoil begin to blow? What happens when the earthquakes of personal crisis shake the very ground beneath you? What happens when other architects stand on the sidelines shouting that your design is flawed and that your structure is destined to collapse? A structure is not truly tested in the calm of a sunny day. Its greatness is revealed in its ability to withstand the storm. This brings us to our fifth and final pillar. It is the pillar that ensures your life's work will endure. It is the spiritual and psychological steel that you must weave into your very being. It is the pillar of resilience, the art of mastering the inevitable storms of failure and criticism. Let us begin by establishing a radical and liberating truth. Your goal is not to live a life free of failure. A life without failure is not a life of success, it is a life of caution. It is a life lived in the shallow end of the pool. It is a small, safe, and ultimately insignificant life. The person who has never failed is the person who has never truly dared to live. No, your ambition is not to avoid failure. Your ambition must be to become a master of the post-failure process. The greatness of an individual is not measured by whether they fall, for all of us will fall. It is measured by the grace, wisdom, and speed with which they rise. I want you to think of failure and criticism not as your enemies, but as two unavoidable gatekeepers standing on the path to every worthy destination. They are the price of admission for a life of ambition. They are the toll that must be paid on the road to exceptional achievement. The vast majority of people arrive at this toll booth. They see the price, the risk of falling, the sting of being judged, and they turn back. They retreat to the familiar, comfortable path of the life by default, and they spend the rest of their years wondering what lay on the other side. The architect of a life by design understands the nature of this transaction. They look at the gatekeepers, they nod with understanding, and they say, I am willing to pay the price, because they know that everything they truly desire lies on the other side of that gate. So let us first learn how to transact with the great gatekeeper of failure. Our society has taught us to fear failure, to see it as a final verdict on our worth. We are taught that to fail is to be a failure. This is the most debilitating lie ever told. We must surgically separate our identity from our outcomes. An outcome is an event in time. Your identity is the eternal essence of who you are. Your business might fail, you are not a failure. Your project might fall short, you are not a failure. Your experiment did not work, you did not fail, you learned. You must adopt the mindset of a scientist. For a scientist, a failed experiment is not a moment of personal shame, it is a moment of discovery. It is a valuable piece of data. It represents the successful discovery of a path that does not work, which brings them one crucial step closer to the path that does. The scientist who frames their work this way can never truly fail. They can only learn and iterate. You must become the scientist of your own life. To do this, you need a structured process for extracting the wisdom from your setbacks. I call this the post-failure autopsy. It is a calm, strategic analysis, not an emotional reaction. It has 4 steps. First, acknowledge the emotion but quarantine it. When you fail, you will feel the sting of disappointment, frustration, or even embarrassment. This is human. Do not deny the feeling. Acknowledge it, give it a name, but then quarantine it. Give yourself a strict time limit, a few hours, or perhaps a day, to feel the emotion fully. But when that time is up, you declare it over. You do not allow the emotion to bleed into the next and most important phase, the analysis. Second, own your part with radical responsibility. It is tempting to look outward. It is tempting to blame the wind of circumstance, the market, your partner, your bad luck. The undisciplined mind does this instinctively, but the architect looks inward. They ask, putting all external factors aside, where did my strategy or my execution fall short? What part of this outcome was a direct result of my choices? This is not about self-blame. It is about reclaiming your power. For the moment you take responsibility for your failure is the moment you gain the power to create your next success. Third, extract the invaluable lesson. Within every failure lies a seed of equivalent advantage. Your job is to find it. Ask with genuine curiosity, what is this failure trying to teach me? Is it a lesson about a flaw in my strategy, a weakness in my skill set, a blind spot in my character? You must hunt for this lesson as if it were a precious jewel. Once you find it, the failure is no longer a net loss. You have traded a temporary setback for a permanent piece of wisdom. This is the greatest bargain in the world. Fourth, create an iterated plan of action. The final step is to take that lesson and immediately integrate it into a new, improved plan. What will you do differently next time based on what you have just learned? This step is critical. It turns you from a victim of the past into the architect of the future. It transforms the painful energy of failure into the productive energy of a new and better strategy. This process is how you turn stumbling blocks into stepping stones. And it is best understood through the great analogy of the seasons. Failure, my friends, is simply winter. Winter is not a mistake. It is not a punishment. It is a natural, necessary, and inevitable season of life. You cannot have the harvest of autumn without the planting of spring and the labor of summer.